Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to session 2 of Stackschool. Today, we're going to be going over front end. Thank you guys all for being here. And then the slides should be in the Discord as well. And, we'll upload the recording later to YouTube as well, if you guys want to, go over anything on your own time. For today's ACM membership portal sign-in, it's called Looks Right, because like the app name they made is called Sounds Right, but we're doing front end, so it's like Looks Right. Okay. And then there's the link to slides and link to demo, which are on the slides as well. Oh, I just realized I forgot to introduce, but I'm James. I'm one of the presenters today.
And yeah, I'm Max.
Okay, yeah, and we'll be, dividing up the way we present these slides for today's workshop. Okay, and as a reminder, the goal of this series, like we are walking you guys through how to build the app we made, but really these are concepts you can apply for your own projects, and that's what we want to help you guys do. So at the end of this entire series, we're gonna have a showcase where you guys can present whatever you've made, and we will have prizes to give to you guys. So we encourage you guys to make your own stuff and ask us for help with whatever it is you're trying to build. And as a recap, okay, actually, this is fine. As a recap, this is the curriculum overall schedule. So this week we are learning all of front end. So it's going to be a hefty workshop, but we're going to be teaching you guys how to get everything up and running more or less. And you can just kind of look at the further weeks for, all the future topics we'll be covering. Thanks, Shi. Okay. So for today's agenda, first we're going to just go over a soft introduction to React Native again, although Shiu covered it already yesterday or last week. Then we're going to talk about tags and style sheets and components and props. And then Max will go ahead and present about state and hooks and navigation within our app. So let's go ahead and get started to a soft intro to React Native. So as a recap, React Native is a cross-platform mobile development framework. And just saying that, it's a lot of big weird words that might not be intuitive, and it's kind of odd, right? So for now, for this, like we'll explain what they all mean. But for now, just kind of like ignore the whole cross-platform part and just focus on mobile development. We are teaching you guys how to make your own mobile apps. So as some context, native development is when you create an app specifically for a particular platform. So for iOS, Apple has their own programming language called Swift, and there's also something called Objective-C. And if you code in those, you can build an iOS app, but you can only build an iOS app. And similarly for Android, they have Java or Kotlin, and if you code in those, you can make an Android app, but you can only make an Android app. So React Native is a JavaScript tool to build these native mobile apps. So whatever you build seems like it's built with those original languages, but it's cross-platform, meaning we can just write all of our code once and it will get translated into each platform's native code. And it's a really popular thing. It has a lot of community support and it's backed by Facebook. And there's a lot of stuff actually using it. I'm sure, everyone, if you guys are going into software, maybe at some point you will be at an internship or a job working with it. It's very likely and very possible. So that was a very soft introduction, but are there any questions before I keep going? Just because I wanted to add some background. Okay, cool. So now let's get into tags and style sheets, which is now we're getting to the meat and potatoes, as they say. So React Native uses something called JSX, which lets us store markup code into variables and then write them directly into JavaScript. This basically means we're writing stuff to format the screen, right? We're writing all the stuff we're going to see. And when we save a file after typing our code, we can instantly see our changes reflected. So this is an example of what a tag might look like. This is a very basic tag called text. But you can kind of see on the left here, I'm like kind of mousing over it, but on the left, we start with these angle brackets and then specify the name of the tag. Then in the middle, we have the content of our tag. And on the right here, we have just the tag again with the same angle brackets, except there's a slash, a forward slash. And I'll demo this now very quickly. I'm not going to set up the app because she already covered that last workshop, but I did put the steps to set everything up in the slides. So if you guys were still unsure about that, you can just reference those. So here I have our basic app. I've made no changes since where we picked up last week. So this is kind of what you guys should all see. And in app.js is just over here in the file directory. It's at the root level. We can go ahead and modify, the text tag here and save this file. So let's modify this, and I will say Shiyu was late, but she is cool still. And if I go ahead and save this file, you can tell if something's saved or not by looking at this, the tab, right? Right now there's a dot. That means it's unsaved. So if I save it, then the dot goes away. And you can see that our simulator updates, and now it has the text, she was late, but she is cool still. Yeah. So for the to actually open the simulator, what you can do is go navigate to the directory you're in, then type npx expo start. Oh. mhm. Oh, did you press open iOS simulator? Okay, you might need to like spam it a couple of times. Or you might need to install the Expo app on your simulator. I think it should auto prompt you, but okay, cool. Yeah, if you're still having trouble with it later, then we can also help you out. But yeah, that's just a very basic demo of the tag. We're gonna do some more complex stuff now. But just wanted to illustrate, the general concept. So there's a lot of these tags, right? Because there's a lot of different elements to an app. Some common ones are like text, image, button, view, and text input. And this is kind of, I've put in this box here, like how to use a couple of these. So they're all very similar syntax. You might notice that for like image and button, we aren't actually sandwiching like two image tags. We just have a slash and then a bracket at the end. So that's also valid for these in certain cases. But overall, this is like, the general format of how they roll. And one final tag that is very important to cover is a view. And a view is basically a container that holds stuff. They make up stuff shown on the screen, but you can't actually physically see them. They're invisible. So before I go on, does anyone want to maybe guess why a view is like important? And I have a bunch of like these squishies, these little squishies, which I'll pass out if you answer the question. Uh, Okay, but does anyone want to take a guess? There's like grapes and some dinosaurs or something. All right, any volunteers? If not, then I will just keep going. Okay. Oh, what? Yeah, exactly. What's your name? Lewis? Okay, yeah. Lewis, here's a grape. All right, ready? It's very soft, so oh. Okay, well, sorry. But as Lewis said, yeah, exactly. Oh, I had one more slide. Whoops. But as a simple example, let's say we wanted to build a component like this, right? This might be, just like a post on a post like in our app, I guess. And you can see there's like this is supposed to be a profile image, and we have a bunch of different texts here. So with a view, we can separate these into like two different parts. This upper part might be one view, and the bottom part might be a separate view. And by default, the layout of stuff is in a column. But let me see. Okay. But for this upper view right here, we might separate this into more views itself because we have stuff side by side horizontally. So I know that's like a bit quick, but this is specifically also a CSS property called flex, if you will. There's a bunch of other display properties, and I will have some slides about it further down. But the short summary is views help us group tags together so they're not just all a jumbled mess, and they help us format our overall content in our screen so not everything is just a straight column. And now we get into how to actually style stuff within our app. So React Native uses something called style sheets, which is basically like CSS for those of you that are familiar with like web development. But I've kind of put a small example here of how they work. And you can see in this left part, this is like our normal app function. So if I go to, the code right here, that we just messed with, this is like the app function. And over here, you can see this topmost view has something called styles.container as its style. Now the style sheet just goes at the bottom after this function probably. And you can see that it has a property called container, which has like background color red, display flex, and a bunch of other properties. Then we have some text called hello, which has styles.text, and that is another property of the style sheet, which has a font size of 30 and the color blue. And lastly, we have one more text tag, which is a bit more odd because it doesn't actually reference the style sheet. But this is something called an inline style. And it basically just enables us to directly format the tag like inline. That's why it's called an inline style. However, generally it's like considered bad practice because it's a lot faster to edit stuff in a style sheet. And if you want one change to apply to a bunch of different separate elements, then if you have a bunch of inline styles, it can get kind of like confusing to keep track of and doubly difficult for anyone who is like working on you with the code. That code, this is the same code. This is the screen it produces, and we can kind of see, the container has a background color of red. The first hello tag has the color of blue, and the second tag has a color of green. And the font sizes are, appropriately spaced as well. So are there any questions before I keep going? Yeah. Yeah, so not necessarily a coordinate system, but there is a layout system called like Flexbox, I think is the one we most commonly use. And there's options like, space between, space evenly, and whatnot. And typically that is like sufficient, or that's what most people tend to use. I guess you could technically use a coordinate system if you hard code a specific component to be at a specific place, but that's usually not good practice because say you code something to be in a specific position on the iPhone. Well, if someone uses it on like a slightly bigger iPhone or like an iPad, then the position might be all like messed up. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, here, you can guess squishy. You also guess squishy because you asked a question earlier. Woo. Elliot. Woo. Mhm. So as far as I'm aware, they're just built-in ones. But I'm not sure if you can import more. I've never heard of that if you can. So I'm not sure. You might have to just search that up. But that is a good question though. For the most part though, what's already built in should be like more than sufficient. And if you want to get fancy with stuff, there's like a bunch of different packages for animation or gestures and whatnot that you can explore. This is a squirrel, a pink. Okay. Okay. I just like throwing stuff at people. So I'm not going to go into too many styles just because we found from like past years, it gets kind of repetitive for me to be like, guess what background color does, guys? And it's like, it changes the background color. But here's a bunch of common ones that you might want to play around with in your own apps. And I put a bunch of references here for you guys to check out. Just because there's a lot of other content we need to get through in this workshop. So I can't afford to go over everything for styling specifically. But you're also free to ask any of us later. Okay. So that is the end of tags and style sheets. And now we're going to move on to components and props in React Native. So a quick observation, if you look at any, app, you'll notice that there are certain parts that are just the same format. And I'm just realizing that the examples I have coming up are all web apps, but it also kind of goes for mobile apps too. So for Reddit, right? Each post has the same format. They all have the same like upvotes and downvote buttons and all the, actions at the bottom. Each one has a title and an author and like the general content of it. And same thing with Twitter itself, right? There's a lot of like repeat stuff here, although obviously every post has different content, right? And same thing for LinkedIn also. So components is how this is achievable. Basically, we can take elements of our app and then break them into specific parts that can be reused over and over again. And this is helpful even for things that you might not reuse over and over, like a navigation bar. And the reason for that is because later, if you're going through your code and you're debugging it, it's a lot more helpful to just know that like you have one component that says nav bar, and you can, get more into the fine details of it if you need to, as opposed to just seeing all the code for a nav bar all at once, and like, needing to parse through everything. So for those of you that have heard of it, this is like a concept called abstraction. But in React Native, also, if you haven't heard of that, it's fine. In React Native specifically, this is what it kind of looks like. So here is app.js, the same app.js that we've been working with. And you can see up here, we import post from this file path right here. And we reference the component post in our code. And it just looks like a normal tag, right? Well, in post.js might be, it could be in the same file, but usually it's a different file. And here we declare a different function called post. And, post has its own set of styles, its own, layout of tags. It can do whatever it wants. But it is considered another component. And also just a quick aside, the file path here to read this, the // means look in the current directory, and then components means for a folder called components. And then lastly, post just means like for a file called post. So now I'll go into a demo to actually create our first component in our app. This is the final product on the left here of what she presented last week. So that's, hopefully what we'll end up getting after the entirety of this workshop series. But for today, I'm just going to focus on making, the generic post component that is kind of what we want in our app. So hopefully I remember how to do this. But in app.js, the first thing I want to do is I want to just make a normal component. I don't want to do anything too fancy just yet. I just want to make sure, I've made my component properly. And actually to start, I'll go ahead and change the style sheet because you can see in our app, the background is black, right? So over here in our style sheet, I'm just going to background color and I'm going to type black. And if I say that now, everything is black. In fact, I think I can also do color white. And okay, I guess I need to specifically apply the text tag. Never mind. Anyways, this is what we have for now. I'm going to get rid of some of this boilerplate, so we don't need the status bar. And I think that's fine for now. And in the Explorer, right, I opened up this sidebar. I'm going to make a new folder and just name it components. And then in components, so the reason I made this folder is just because it's going to help us a lot with organization later, right? Once we have like a bunch of components, then we want to be able to easily find all of them. And in this folder, I'm going to make a new file and I'll name it post.js. And notice I have capitalized it here. So now in actual post.js, I only have this prompt because I have GitHub Copilot, which I recommend because it's very helpful. But I'm going to do export default function post. And woo, Copilot, it's just all for me. I don't need to do any coding. But working with this normal function, you might be wondering where I got that from. You can notice in app.js, this is the exact same syntax as for our app. So in our post, no more suggestion. So we're going to type a return statement. And an interesting thing about the return statement is it can only return one thing. So if I do like, say, I have to import, say I want to use a text, right? So I'm just going to copy this actually up here in app.js, and I'm going to paste it back in post. And if I try doing like two different texts, like hello, and then I put another one, like goodbye, it's going to scream at me a lot. And the reason is because you can only return one thing, but here we're returning two separate tags. So if that's the case, how do we actually return anything? Well, we can all just wrap it in a nice view, one of those invisible containers. And now I can say, hello, goodbye. So now if I save this, nothing happens at all. Actually, firstly, I'm going to also add a style to this. So I'm just going to use the same style sheet as an app.js. Except here I'm going to say like text color or something. And I just want to make sure the color is white so we can actually see it. And for this text, I'm going to do style is equivalent to styles.text color. And I'll do the same thing for this one. Okay, so I saved it, but nothing actually got updated. And the reason is because we have to import this component into app.js before we can actually see it show up. So I'm going to do import post, and then Copilot suggests it, which is great, but also as you start typing it, it will autocomplete for you without Copilot. So that's awesome. And again, this file path just means look in the current directory for a folder named components, and then look for a file named post. So have I lost anyone so far? Is everyone kind of chilling? Cool. Okay. And finally, to actually reference this component, I'm going to type it as a normal tag. So I type post, and when I save, you can see on our screen, it says hello and goodbye. I'm not really sure how to zoom. I don't know if I can zoom in on the simulator, but it says that. So I don't know. Hopefully it's like okay to see in the back. All right, so now we have, we know that our component is working, right? We can put whatever we want in this post component and it will get reflected in our app, right? If I paste this a bunch and I save it, remember you have to save, then the component gets updated. But we want to make something that looks like this. So now I'm gonna like go a bit faster now because I'm just applying all the things I have previously talked about, but I'm gonna use a combination of views, styles, and tags to make something that looks like this. Okay. How am I doing on time? I'm doing okay. So the first thing is in this post, we have, two elements. I kind of talked about it earlier when I was talking about the importance of views, but we're going to need one view for this upper part and one view for the like part. So I'm going to do a view up here, and I'm going to do a view up here. And for now, I'll just put some text in there so we can actually see what's going on. So I'll say this will be a heart, and I'll put a text here. And I'll say this will be like profile info and stuff. Oh, I forgot to apply the thing. Whoops. Style is styles.text color for here. And for this one as well. Okay, so we have our two views, and now we can kind of start spicing up a bit more. So in this upper view, we want to have an image followed by, some more text content. So I'm going to worry about that image first. So I'm going to do image, and here I'm going to say image, and I believe it, oh, there we go. So this is not the file path I want to use. I'm just going to use a boilerplate PNG file that comes in the boilerplate in our assets folder, just called icon. And it's literally just a blank icon. But okay, how can I do this? Maybe I'll stretch this out. So I want the directory to that. So // // means look in the directory above us. So // assets slash, and then I'm just gonna do icon.png. And hopefully all my syntax is right, so this will actually show up. Okay, cool. There it goes. Now obviously this image is freaking ginormous. So we want to add a style to it to make sure it is, not that big. So profile image right there. I just put that in my style sheet, and I can apply style is equal to styles.profile image. And now it's a lot smaller. And just an example, you can like put a border radius on this and make it like 50. So now it's a circle. So now we have an image. Nice. And we still have this text here though, and it's still going under the image because by default layouts are columns. So to change that in this upper view, I'm going to add another style. And I'll say upper container or something. And over here in our style sheet, I'm going to add, well, I think I need to display dot flex first. Maybe, yeah, flex, and then flex direction row. And as you can see, now it is, that upper view has, everything is formatted in a row. All right. Now just to wrap it up, a couple more small things that we need. I won't implement everything exactly like this because, just for the sake of time and also because I hope I am making the ideas somewhat clear, but I will just add let's see, some more information here and I'll make this like button actually touchable. So for now, right here, let's say this is the post author. And we want to have another text here that is the post title. And let's wrap this all in a view itself. So now you can see, we're really wrapping the views here. And this is why views are great for layout because you can do a lot with them. And I'll say inner container. So if I say this right now, oh yeah, because views have by default, column formatting. But a very helpful thing I did I do actually, to debug and just make sure I know what I'm doing is I like changing the background colors a lot. Just like, something like red or blue, and you can actually see what the view looks like. So if I did this like background color blue, and I say that, then you can see the image has a background color blue there, although I don't know how it shows up on the projector. Okay. One last very fast thing to end up this demo. I'm going to import something called a touchable opacity, which sounds really weird. Like, what the heck is a touchable opacity? But basically, it's like a button. That's all it is. I don't know why they named it that in React Native, but so I'm going to put a touchable opacity here for the actual like functionality. And let's just say likes here. So what touchable opacity lets us do is it actually lets you like touch stuff. And you can kind of see, I don't know how well it shows up, but it's like kind of fading in and out. It's basically a button. And what I will do is for now, I'll just make this, I'll give this a prop. Oh, I didn't even get there yet. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. So that's a very, basic template. I could keep going and actually make out all of this, but for the sake of time, I won't. Also, Max, it's okay if you go over a little because we started late. So now another problem is we can have a lot of posts with only a few lines of code, right? Which is great. That's not the problem itself, but say I go here and let me get rid of this text and I can paste a bunch of these posts. So now, wow, look at all those posts we got. They don't look that good because I didn't style them, but there's a lot. And the issue with this, though, is that they're all the same, right? And no one wants to just look at a Twitter feed of like all the same posts. That's very boring. So we can customize these using something called props. And props are basically information that you can hand off to a component so it knows what to do. For those of you that know like what parameters are in functions, I don't know if CS31 teaches them. I think CS32 will at some point if they haven't yet. But parameters are like just something you pass into a function, when you call it. So if you don't know what parameter is, that's also okay. So in React Native specifically, this is what it looks like. So on the left here, we have almost the exact same as what we had before. This is app.js, and we're calling the post component. But the only difference is now we have this inner thing called post, and it's set to woohoo. And on our right side in post.js, now in the parentheses following the post name, we have some squiggly brackets with the parameter post. And in our text, we say this is the prop and then reference that parameter with the squiggly brackets. So if any of you are familiar with JavaScript, this is actually an example of object destructuring. don't worry about it if you don't know what I just said. But are there any questions before I keep going? For the concept, at least, of what a prop is. Yay. Okay. This is another example of how you can pass in a prop. So the previous one, I'm just go back really quick. The previous one in our prop, we pass in a string called woohoo, symbolized by the quotes. But in this new example, we are actually just directly passing in a JavaScript object called data. And this data object has a bunch of, its own traits. It has a title and an artist and, other stuff. But in our post component, we can actually reference each of those attributes, within our code. And this is how you do it with the dot syntax for, calling an object's properties. So for our demo now, we're going to, make this actually a bit more customized and pass in some special songs and stuff. Okay. So for now, let me get rid of all these excess posts that I just made. So we can kind of look at what we're actually doing. And over here, I'm actually going to get rid of these background colors too, because that was kind of just for a demo, but I kind of don't want to keep looking at it. Let me see if very quickly I can also just make this look slightly better. Okay, I guess not. Wait, so I'm trying to see if I can cheat. Oh, I need a quote. 300? Okay, you know what? Okay, it's fine. So this is our post right now, and we want to illustrate how to use a prop, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is in the parentheses of the function, I'm going to put some curly braces, and I'm going to say post. And that can be whatever variable you want it to be. It can be called like ooga booga, but I'm just naming it post because why not? And if I save this, nothing actually happens. So the reason for that is we actually need to reference it in our prop itself. So instead of saying post author right here, let's put some squiggly brackets and do post dot author. And then instead of post title, I'm going to do the same squiggly brackets and do post dot title. And if I save this, now nothing, now we actually get an error. So does anyone have any guesses as to why that is? Okay. Well, it's because right now in app.js, we haven't actually passed anything into our post. So it's, trying to read a property from post, which is nothing. So in the post component, let's just pass in, well, first let's make like an actual data attribute. So I'm just, creating a JavaScript object and I'll name this, what did we say? Author and title. So I'll say author John Doe. Okay, these are so boring. I'll say like Taylor Swift and blank space. And in the post component itself, I want to pass in that prop. So I'll do post equals and then curly braces followed by data. Now, when I save this, now you can see our post actually has Taylor Swift and then blank space there. And that's about it. That's like, we just passed custom data into our component. We can take this a step further and wrap this into a big array. And I can put multiple of these objects. Come on, Copilot, do your thing. Oh my goodness, Bruno Mars, title. I'm just going straight off of what's in my head. Oh, okay. Okay, and right now if I save it, now it's all weird, and that's because I'm passing in the actual array itself. So I can just pass in, these specific indexes for each unique prop. And the formatting is really janky. Sorry about that. But you can see that, the first one has Taylor Swift, blank space, the second one Bruno Mars, and the third one is Ariana Grande. And that's like the power of components. So once we, sync this up to a database of actual songs, which will be further down the weeks, we'll be able to just very easily get everything at once. Okay, Max, do you want me to do the touchable opacity function, or you want to take care of it?
You can do it.
Okay, so one last thing I'm just gonna do very quickly is I'm gonna illustrate this button, because we have a button here, right? Right now it doesn't do anything when we actually press it. So I'm just going to define a function here, and let's say function, oh, there we go, handle press. And for this touchable opacity, I'll just say here on click. So this is a prop, right? And when we click it, I'm going to invoke handle press. So when I save this, right, let's open up our console. Ignore that. That's from earlier when it errored. If I press this likes button, oh, it doesn't work because I think I need an arrow function. Let's try this. Wait, am I in the wrong terminal or something? I don't understand. No, you don't need a use effect for just a normal function like this. Do I need two? I shouldn't. Huh. Okay, well, anyways.
I think it's on press now.
Oh, is that why? Oh, I'm thinking about React. Whoops. Max has done his homework.
That doesn't work.
No, there we go. You're right. Okay. I was doing on click instead of on press because in web dev it's called on click. So that's my bad. But yeah. All right. So that is the demo. And now Max will go into state and hooks.
Do you want to you know, like the one sec. For the demo here, like it's kind of ugly. You want to just like install the clone the git or no? You can like take a 2-minute break. It's like it looks a lot nicer. It's like hard to see.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay. Let's just do that really quick. All right, sorry everyone. We're gonna take like a 2-minute break just to clone something real quick. Or actually, I'm just gonna copy some code. Yeah, sorry.
That's like
Also, I already have it, so it's fine. This is all your code, isn't it?
Yeah.
E
or maybe like refresh.
Yeah. There you go. That fine?
That's it. Okay.
Okay. Oh, I might have all your code actually. Might want to reset it.
Oh no.
You don't need the parentheses, yeah.
Oh right. I'll just get rid of this to make it easier.
Yeah, it's up to you. Get rid of the other two posts.
Okay, guys. I'll be going over the rest of the workshop. So first, I'll be going into state and hooks. Okay. So our basic idea right now is, we did all the styling and all these other cool things, but our app isn't like functionable yet. Like there's nothing that's happening. So the idea is to make our app do something. So the motivation right now, I'm going to be demoing a like button. So right now we have a heart button, but no action for it. So let's say like we wanted to have the heart button be pressed so that it increments the number of likes that we have. Then that's where state and hooks come in. Yeah. So we have something called a use state, and use state is something called a hook, and it basically lets us update the screen after the user interacts with stuff, such as, for example, the heart button. So when called, it re-renders the whole screen so we can see the new content that might have changed from the user's actions. So for example, like we click the heart button here. Right now it doesn't do anything, but after we use the use state, if we click it like 5 times, it re-renders the screen and then it'll show 5 likes. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. Okay, so this is an example of a use state declaration, and I'll just be going over like the parts of this declaration so it would make more sense. Okay, so first we have const, which just declares a new constant variable. I think you guys are familiar with that. Next we have likes, which is basically just the current state of whatever the element is in. So for example, like in our example of likes, the current number of likes is 0 likes, 5 likes, 25 likes, whatever the state is in, that's like the number of likes that we have. Okay. And set likes is a function we'll call later in the body of our code to change the current state. I'll be going over that a little bit more later, but it basically just lets us use the likes state. So we can change the number of likes that we have. And last but not least, we have uh, this code right here called use state and then parentheses and then the initial value that we set. So this can be like a string, integer, like whatever you really want. It's just whatever value that you want to start with. So for our example, we have 0 inside the parentheses. That's because we want to start with 0 likes. But like say we wanted to start with like 5 likes, then we would just put 5 right here, like so on and so forth. Yeah. So I'll just be like quickly demoing um, this likes count incrementer in our code. And these are like the 4 steps. It's pretty simple. First, you want to import use state from React. And that just basically allows us to use the use state in our code. And then we want to declare it like we said, so we have like a state that we can change. Then in order to actually change our current state, we have like the touchable opacity button that James went over earlier. And on press, basically like when this button is pressed, we call the set likes function to change the state that we have. And lastly, we just show our like state in our code. So just like put it between curly brackets because it's a variable and then put it in text. Yeah. So I'll just be doing that real quick. So back to our code, I'll put it in post. So at the top, you want to, where all the imports are, you want to import use state from React. Okay. So that's step 1. Step 2 is declaring the use state. So just put it under here. Constant, and then call it likes. Oh my goodness, I never used GitHub Copilot, but it's kind of nice. Oh, nice. Cool. Okay, so that's a declaration. And so we're gonna start at 0 likes. Okay. And so going back to our touchable opacity button, right now, we're doing the function handle like, which is just a hard-coded, um, it's like a console.log saying liked. So right now, if we press the like button, it'll just output to our console saying that like it was liked or it was pressed. But instead, we're going to be using our state here instead. So I'm going to be writing this arrow function right here to call our set likes function. Okay, so should be Should be good. Okay, cool. So just to go over this again right here, so we have the touchable opacity, which is basically a button, and on press, which is a built-in prop. When this touchable opacity button, which is the heart, when that's pressed, it sets the likes, or it calls the set likes function, which is from our useState declaration right here, and sets the number of likes to the current state of likes plus 1. So all it's doing is if the current state of likes is 0, then the new current state of likes is 0 plus 1. So it basically increments it by 1. Okay. And last but not least, instead of the hard-coded likes num variable we have, which is 0 here, we'll replace that with the like state. So let's write likes. And this should make our code work, hopefully. Okay, so if we press this button, we have 0 likes right here, but once we press it, it will re-render the screen and show 1 like. Or not. 1 sec. Yeah.
Is you say
Oh, because it's a constant variable. James, do you know the answer to that? I just know it's like common syntax.
Yeah, the use state is saying that this is an array, not an array.
Max, can you close the
Things
terminal?
on the array.
Or just put it down?
but what's the like usage of that array? We just need a variable to keep count of the likes, right?
Yeah, use state returns an array, variable and function use.
So the use state is destruction array. So the first thing is likes, right? That's just like a variable in code. And we are initializing to 0 in this instance. Set likes is a function that we're using specifically to update that likes variable. So whenever we want to make a change to this, we have to call set likes as if it's a function. And then with whatever we want likes to become.
Yeah, so where does that like use state come?
Well, use state is just a hook that enables us to do that. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I fixed it. There was for some reason like a second button inside the button, so it was making it not work. But yeah, now we have it so that if we press the heart like or the heart button, it'll increment the number of likes by 1. So if you guys can see there, I don't think I can zoom in, but it's like incrementing yeah, double digits now. So yeah. And just to show it again, so if we're incrementing by 1 right now, but if we go back to this set likes function, inside it, if we want to increment by like say like 15, we write likes plus 15. And you can really increment it by whatever. It's just how you want to change the state of your likes. So now if we save this and refresh this, it should increment by 15. Yeah, so that's just a simple demonstration of the use state, which is it's pretty simple, but you guys can imagine like how there's like many more different ways that you can use the use state to do a lot of cool things. Yeah. Let me just change this back to one. Okay, so that was a state and hooks, but now I'll be going into navigation, which is the last topic of today. So what is navigation in a mobile app? So I have hopefully something that's like familiar to all of you guys, which is Instagram, and this is just the Nike's homepage. So yeah, I'll just be going over like different navigation inside the Instagram app, so you guys can maybe get an idea of navigation in a mobile app. So at the bottom here, we have like tabs, like a home page, search bar, you know, profile page, different like tabs that navigate you to different screens. We also have a button up here, like a message button, that if we click, we'll go to the message bar or the message screen. And then if we press backspace, we'll just be back into the home page. And that's like a pretty simple like example of navigation in mobile apps. So now you guys know like what it would look like, but you might be wondering like how we would do that. So there's 2 main methods. There's stack navigation and tab navigation. And hopefully like these pictures on the right make it a little clearer. But stack navigation basically lets you navigate to the next screen or the previous screen in the stack. So think about all your screens as like a stack or like a deck of cards, like the picture on the left right here. And say you wanted to go to the next screen, you'd press a button or something, it'll navigate you to the next screen. If you wanted to go to the previous screen, you would press backspace and it'll go to the previous screen in the stack. It's just like a bunch of screens like layered on top of each other in stacks. Yeah. Hence, it's called stack navigation. We also have tab navigation, which is where each tab is like a category or section that's neatly dividing your screens. So on the right here, we have like a tab bar and we have like a table of contents where we have like a home page, like another page, where your screens are just divided by tabs. Yeah. So I'm just going back to our example here. So can anyone tell me what type of navigation this bottom part is? Is it tab navigation or stack navigation? Yeah, so that's correct. I can still throw this, right, James? Okay, here you go. Okay, cool. Yeah. So this is tab navigation. So you have a bunch of tabs right here again, that lets you navigate to different screens. So can someone tell me what this is an example of, where if you press like the message button, it'll navigate you to this message screen, and then if you press backspace, you'll be back into the home page of like the Instagram screen. Yeah. So anyone tell me if this is stack navigation or tab navigation? Yeah, so this is an example of stack navigation. So hopefully that makes it a little clearer for you guys. So yeah. You want the pink one or the green one? Okay, cool. I can just like click it, right?
Yeah.
Oh no. Sorry. Okay, I'll just keep going. Okay. So yeah, hopefully that makes more sense. So let's get into the demo. Okay, cool. So first you want to navigate or CD into your basically folder. I think you guys made your project and called it front end, but it's whatever you guys yeah, this one's also front end, but it's whatever you guys like made your project with. So like whatever would be right here. So in our case, front end. Hold on, where's the terminal? Okay. So it's already in front end, so I'm not gonna run that. So next, there's like a couple things that we need to install for navigation before we actually start coding. So first install this npm install React Navigation Native. So this basically just installs the React navigation library that allows us to do navigation for React Native. So yeah, just copy that and then just like paste that in here and then run that. Okay. So next, we have this command, which basically just installs dependencies for React navigation. So you also need this. So I'll just copy that and run that here also. Okay. And thirdly, we have npm install React navigation /stack. So this just allows us to do stack navigation inside our React Native mobile app. So we also need this. Okay. And for now, I'm gonna be doing a demo of stack navigation. So this is all we need, but if we have time, I'll go over tab navigation also. So you can also install this command, which installs tab navigation. Just like wait for that to finish. Okay, cool. Does anyone need more time to install those? I guess we can do that later. Yeah, I'll just keep going. So back to our presentation. So when we're doing when we're making like a bunch of different screens, right now we only have one screen right here, this like home page or whatever. But say like we have a bunch of different screens, right? We have like a home screen, about screen, like whatever, like however many amount of screens you want, then it's good practice to put all the screens in one folder. So we'll just be making like a screens folder and then putting all our screens in there. So going back here, you can click on this and then click new folder. Wait, not in there. Shoot. Click new folder and then just call it screens or like whatever you really want, but it just it makes sense to call it screens. And then you can put like, I'm just gonna be putting two screens in there. I'll just call it first screen.js and second screen.js. Okay. Okay. So we have those two screens now, but we have no code in them. So I'll just be filling them with just like whatever we have in app.js. So it'll show something. Just let me copy this. And then just actually let me just make this bigger so it's easier to see. So just make sure to change the name of the export default function. So this is first screen. And this is second screen. Yeah. And I'm just gonna also change the name of the song. So anyone have a song that they want to put here for the second screen? Just like one song. Okay. James, do you have a song? You're very creative with it before.
Home Depot song.
Home Depot song. Who's the author?
Home Depot.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, nice. Oh. Nope. Just save those two. So we have stuff in our first screen and second screen. Going back. So now we can actually start doing some navigation stuff. So that'll all happen in app.js. And first you want to import these two things. So navigation container just tells us like, guys, like there's navigation in this container. And then import like create stack navigator allows us to do stack navigation. So let me just copy paste that. Go to app.js, and at the top where you're importing everything, you can just import that. And also import this. Okay, cool. And we don't need anything in return right now. So we can just delete this. Okay, cool. Oh, it does it all for me already. I don't want to show that yet. Okay. Cool. So next we need to declare stack. So you're just gonna write this syntax right here, constant stack, create stack navigator. And that's just gonna allow us to do stack navigation again. So just do it right here. So constant, actually, do it right here. Constant stack equals create stack navigator. Okay. And last but not least, we want to do routing. So again, we have this setup right here. We have a navigation container, then stack.navigator, then stack.screens in the middle. So navigation container is where like we're like kind of putting all our navigation in, and stack.navigator allows us to do stack navigation. And then we have all our screens inside. So that's just the basic structure. So I'll just be doing that here. Oh no, so nice. Let me just go back. Yeah. Go away. Okay, cool. So we have navigation container and stack.navigator. And inside stack.navigator, that's where you're gonna want to put like all your stacked screens. So right now we only have two screens, first screen and second screen. So we'll just do just write the syntax right here, stack.screen. And then you want to write the name of your screens. So it's called first screen. And then you want to write the component, which is first screen. Oh. And right now it shouldn't work because we haven't imported first screen and second screen into our app.js. So that is also one thing you need to import. You want to import first screen from, again, like screens, the screens folder. And you also want to import second screen from the screens folder. So now you can also pass that in for components. So yeah, it just like does it for me. So nice. So yeah, we have stack.screen, and then the name is second screen and the component is second screen. So if we save that and go back to our corner here, yeah. Let's wait for that to start. Okay. Refresh this. Okay, cool. So as you guys can see at the very top right here, it now says first screen. So it's just showing that, this is the first screen in our app. And right now there's no way to navigate to our second screen. So like we're just stuck here. So I'll just be making a button in first screen so that we can navigate to second screen. So I'll just also do that real quick. Okay, let's go to first screen. You want to import button at the top from React Native so that we can use the button. And then inside view, which is right here, we can write button. Oh, the heck. Inside here, we can write the name or the title, which is what's going to be displayed as the button. So we can write like go to second screen. And then like before with our touchable opacity button, we have the on press built-in prop. We're also just going to do that again. So we're going to do on press. Okay, yeah. Oh, it's so quick. Okay, cool. And then we have going back to our presentation here, actually. We have this function called navigation.navigate to second screen. And that's basically just what you're going to want to put for your on press prop so that when you press it, it goes from the first screen to the second screen. And it knows that it's a second screen because it says second screen here as the title. And if we go back to app.js, we called it second screen here as the name. So that's how it identifies that it's the correct screen to go to. Yeah. So save that. And there's just one final thing that we need to do. And that's in our export default function first screen, we want to put the variable navigation. And that's just gonna allow the navigation in our on press function to actually work. So that should be it. Okay, going back to our example here. So if I refresh, oh, it's already here. But we have a button here now, like that we just made right here, which is this right here. And so let's say like if we press this go to second screen button, then it will navigate to the second screen. So hopefully it works. Okay, cool. Nice. It does work. So you guys can see like at the very top, we're now in the second screen page. And yeah, we have the Home Depot song in here instead of the Taylor Swift song that we had in our first screen. We can also, click likes on here, which is pretty cool. And just like we talked about with stack navigation, at the very top left, we also have the backspace. So you guys can think about the second screen being stacked on top of the first screen so that we can go back and forth between them. So we're stacking second page on top of first page and then backspacing into the first page. Yeah. And that's basically it for navigation. Do we have time for? Okay, yeah. So I'll just be ending it there. But yeah, we have now a working app with 2 different pages. So that'll be it for the workshop. Thank you guys all for coming. And for next week, we'll be going over databases and SQL. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Nice.
Hey, nice job.